Hello and welcome back. This video is going to cover how to attack the reading test on the ACT. A lot of these concepts we have already talked about. We are going to use passage mapping in order to write a brief summary of each one of the paragraphs for the reading section. We did the exact same thing on the English test, and we've also done the exact same thing on the student opinion parts on the science test. So this should be very familiar to you. You will notice that this first passage has a passage A and a passage B. And when you have two passages, it's important to read all of passage A, do your passage maps for it, answer the questions that deal with just A. Go back and read passage B, do your passage maps for that, and then go back and answer the questions for passage B. And then answer the questions that deal with both in the very end. A passage map is just a less than 7-word summary of each one of the paragraphs. The reason that we do this is to focus your reading so you're not going back and rereading the paragraph, and to just get an overall sense of what the paragraph is about so you don't get bogged down into the specific details. So I'm going to give you a chance to read the first paragraph, so pause the video, and then I want you to write less than 7 words about that paragraph. Okay, so after you read the first paragraph tells about the writer's sense of home. Try reading the second paragraph, pause the video, and then try to write a passage map for the second paragraph. The second paragraph talks about how the characters that she writes about have a shifting view of home, depending on her life experience. Okay, now I want you to pause the video and read the third paragraph. The third paragraph talks about who she is as a writer. So now we're going to go down and we're going to actually answer the questions for each. According to passage A, for the author of the passage, beginning as an American writer means her sense of place is, and you can tell from this that it is actually ever shifting. That's one of the things that we actually wrote about. So the answer would be B. Which of the following statements regarding the passage author's Washington novel best supported by passage A? So if we look at line 21, it says that, and she thought that she never would write that. So the answer for that one is J. Based on how she presents herself in the third paragraph in lines 32 through 39, the author of passage A can best be described as someone who. So we're going to go to those lines. And it says that she keeps one bag packed. She's writing the true color about the nation. She talks about all these different things about herself. So she's basically embracing various elements of herself. So that one would be 3. Now we're going to go back and do the exact same thing for passage B. So I want you to take time, pause the video, and write your own passage maps for all of passage B. Pause the video. The first paragraph talks about how the writer's home has changed. The second paragraph talks about Larry and how he had a change of heart because he originally didn't want to write a romantic novel about old Texas, but he ended up writing Lonesome Dove. The next paragraph talks about how the writer moved around in the different places that he moved to and how that changed his perspective on life. And the last paragraph talks about how moving around affected the writer's sense of home. And then this talks about how he views himself as a writer. So now let's answer the questions. In line 47, it talks about writing a losing battle, and the losing battle starts here. So when you're trying to read something in context, it's important to read a couple lines before and a couple lines after. And he's talking about trying to write about old Texas in this paragraph. So that's his losing battle. So that would be H. In the context of passage B, when the passage author states, "I sometimes feel like I'm writing about pharaohs," he is talking about writing about the distant past. It's also important to note that when you're trying to answer these questions, always use elimination to answer the questions. For example, for this one, it didn't have anything to do about a well-known subject, so you would cross that one out. It didn't talk about influencing a period of time, because they didn't talk about like ancient pharaohs and that, so you cross that out. It didn't have anything to do with powerful tyrants. He didn't talk anything about world leaders or anything, so you can cross that one out. And so you can use elimination to find the actual answer. Never try to make one of the answers fit. If it doesn't fit, automatically cross it out. Most of these questions you can get down to a 50-50 shot if you don't think too hard about them. Don't overcomplicate the question. It will literally be self-explanatory if you've done your passage maps. Number 6, based on passage B, comments that Texas authors write about old Texas too much was received with what can be described as, and then here they're talking about how they stubbornly try to write about old Texas, and he wanted to write about the complexities of Texas. And then they said that they were delighted that he did so. So they were displeased with him writing about modern Texas. And when he changed his mind, they were happy. Number 7. In line 85, the word fancy. So I fancy myself as a guide. So you can literally take this word and replace it in the sentence and figure out which word works best. And so the answer is obviously A. The last 3 questions have to do with both passages. And when you're seeing a word that can be inferred, that means that you have to take the next logical step in figuring out what the answer is going to be. The answer will not come directly from the passage. It can reasonably be inferred from the passage that regarding its effect on the lives of both the passage authors would agree that leaving their native places changed their perspective of home. That's the overall idea that we actually got from the passage. The passage most strongly indicates that in their various moves, both authors have resided in D.C. That can be found in line 32, because I'm a Washington writer, and it also can be found in line 70, where he worked in Congress in D.C. Which of the following statements best compares the concluding lines of the passage? They're both talking about how they describe themselves and their roles as writers, and we actually wrote that in our passage map. So the answer for that one is F. So what I want you to do is to try to do the exact same thing for the second passage, answer the questions, and then watch the video for the explanations. Have a good day.